Talofa everyone. So my name is Linda and I was invited by the beautiful Anatola to come into our community, into our village, and share a little bit about parenting. Parenting during this time and maybe some creative ways to keep our kids busy. Listen, I'm no expert. When Anatola asked me, I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know what I can share that will be helpful or relevant for us during this time, us as parents, for our community. But I am happy to be here and just share from the knowledge of being a parent, and also a social worker in school. I'm a social worker at Sir Edmund Hillary Collegiate in Otara. Shout out to them. Missing all my kids at school too. And so at home, my kids are 15 years old. I have a son who's 15, Flo. My son JJ is 10. And my youngest is Maylee, and she is 8 years old. Yeah, I'm Samoan Canadian, born in New Zealand, grew up in Canada, and I've been back for about 13 years now. Parenting during this time. I had a lot of thoughts about it since Anatola has asked me, and I've kind of jotted down a few points that I wanted to touch on. So number one, that I feel is the most important is, I think this is a time we really need to check in with ourselves as parents and just see how we are feeling. I feel oftentimes the default is natural to put our children's needs before our own, and it's instinct. We care for those that are in need, and our children need us right now. They always need us, and it seems like they need me every 5 seconds at the moment. But and if we are better able to reflect on what we need right now, then we're better able to meet the needs of our children. So for example, like, are you getting enough sleep? And are you eating? Are you drinking? Are you living off the same cup of cold coffee for 3 hours? Or, you know, making that time to make sure that you're also taking care of yourself before you're able to meet the needs of your kids. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your kids. I mean, nothing is normal right now. We're all living in this time and this energy that is completely different. It's a part of history. This is going to be a time that's been a part of history where time and energy is changing constantly, yet it feels like nothing is happening. So be patient with yourself and be patient with your babies, because how our bodies and our minds and our Wairua reacts to that energy is going to be different, and how those feelings come out and express themselves is going to be different. So for me, like, yeah, eating a sleeve of biscuits is a whole packet, you know, not exactly self-care, but self-care. For my 8-year-old daughter on Sunday, she spent the entire afternoon crying, kicking things, screaming, and not knowing what she needed, other than she just needed to get that out of her system. She didn't even know what she needed. So we just have to be mindful of how our feelings are coming out right now, and knowing that, especially for our children who aren't able to articulate or be able to say what they're feeling, or not know what they're feeling, it may come out in behaviors. And just to be patient with that, and just to know that, you know, we're all dealing with this in our own ways, and children are no different from adults in how they're trying to process it, as well as we're trying to process what's going on. The other thing, don't give in to parental guilt. I know this is a big one. I know, especially for moms, the whole mom guilt thing. Like, maybe you're on social media and you see, you know, this mom has a wonderful clean house and has cooked a beautiful meal and has been able to homeschool her kids that day, and also spend time with each of them individually, and they're doing crafts, and maybe you haven't gotten dressed or showered for 3 days and your kids are screaming and crying, and maybe they're ate a bag of Doritos for breakfast, or maybe they're, you know, sitting on a device for 20 hours of the day. Whatever it is, don't give in to the guilt. You know, we're all just doing the best we can right now, trying to survive, trying to get through this. As long as your kids are safe, you're safe. That's the number one priority. Making sure that you're okay. Don't give in to guilt. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't compare your parenting to others. And just know that we're all just doing the best we can right now. So be patient with yourself. Be patient with your kids. And don't give in to that mom guilt about what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. Because there is no rule book right now. There's nothing to help us prepare for this. We're all just trying to get through it. The other thing I wanted to say is you know your kids best. So you know what interests your kids, you know their personalities, you know what works and what doesn't work for them. So do what's best for you and your family. So for example, my 15-year-old right now, he wants to be up in he has a loft in a room. He wants to be up in his loft the whole time, doesn't want to come down, doesn't want to talk to anyone. Of course, I do pull him down to do chores, wash dishes, things like that. But he's very much dealing with it in his way, where he likes to be by himself. He likes to be able to connect online with his classmates, do his schoolwork. And you know, it's tricky when we're doing these like online video calls. I know for my 15-year-old who's quite self-conscious, doesn't want anyone around when he's on the video call. So being mindful of what each of your kids needs. And then for my 10-year-old, he's a boy that likes to have a very clear day-to-day routine, hour to hour even, because that makes him feel safe, that makes him thrive, that lays his day out for him. And then my 8-year-old, she needs a flexible routine, where it's maybe from these hours it's schoolwork, but what does that schoolwork look like? It could be Play-Doh, it could be, you know, watching the learning TV. I have to be flexible with her because she has just different needs. And then for me, I need routine, I need structure. I'm a type of person Monday to Friday, because I'm working from home, I like to get up, get dressed just like I was going to work. It keeps me sane. And I need my kids to have some sort of routine that keeps them entertained while I'm working. And I'm quite lucky because my kids are older and can, for the most part, entertain themselves. Because I ain't no clown. I am not here to entertain you. I love you dearly, but please, I'm working out my face. So it's just really finding what works for your kids. So now going on to creative ways to kind of keep our kids busy. I'm mindful that this is already at 8 minutes, so I don't want to talk too much and get everyone bored. But I do want to say, in terms of keeping our kids busy, I think I first want to acknowledge that not everyone has the same access to the same resources. I can say for my family, we are privileged that we have internet, we have devices, we've got craft supplies, paper and paint, Play-Doh, toys and puzzles, things like that, baking supplies. And really, the reality is not everybody has access to those things. And so it's like, how do we keep our kids busy when, you know, maybe on TV they're saying, you know, get out your craft supplies and let's make this. Like, well, what craft supplies if we don't have them? So some little ideas that I have heaps of ideas in terms to keep our kids busy, and maybe I'll post some photos of some things that I've done with my kids. But one thing I know that is good for kids is, like, we want to make sure they're tapping into their physical. So getting outside, getting some play, getting lots of that energy out. Our kids need a lot of movement. So playing outside, running around outside, anything like that. You could do hopscotch on your driveway. If you don't have paint, you could paint with water. And get out there before it dries. So if you don't have a paintbrush, you could use leaves or twigs or whatever thing you have outside to find to paint with water on concrete, because it does make the marks, and it's kids love it. It's fun, it's entertaining. They can treasure hunt for things, scavenger hunt around the yard, build a fort. You could build it inside, you could build it outside. Use things that you have around the house, maybe the old milk bottle jar, plastic container you could fill with things around the house or things outside. And you could have a shaker. I'm very mindful not to say like fill the milk jug with rice, which I've seen some crafters say, because really rice is food, and if you need rice to eat, nobody wants to be using the rice for crafts. So let's be honest, nobody's going to be wearing pasta necklaces because we need to cook the pasta and eat pasta for dinner. Just my thoughts. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on is, as Pacifica, as Māori, we are very connected to our whānau, our ainga, and being separated from them, finding ways to be able to still have our kids engage with their aunties, uncles, cousins, nanas, grandparents. One way that we've done is we have had our kids given them a little assignment, whereas a family interview. So they call up somebody in the family, for instance, grandma, and they ask questions to grandma that maybe they've never asked before, like what's grandma's favorite color, or what were some of the jobs she had when she was younger. And it's an awesome opportunity for our grandparents to feel valued, to feel that the younger generation is interested in them and what their life was like when they were younger. And also a good opportunity for our kids to learn that to see their grandparents or any of those family members in another role than what they usually see them as. It's quite often for us to see our grandma as always, that's just grandma. Well, no, actually grandma is a woman, and there's things that she enjoys and likes outside of the role of being your grandma. So those are just another way for kids to learn their whakapapa, to learn about their culture, their heritage. Maybe they want to find out what's grandma's favorite recipe and learn how to make it if they have those items at home. Some other easy ways, fun ways, you could maybe have a family talent night where everyone gets to show a talent, a music dance party night. You know, maybe you got a bouncer at the door. My friend, she actually had a music club night where the kids had tickets. They got stamped to come in the house. She had turned off all the lights and had the music going, and the kids loved it. Maybe a movie night, again the same scenario where you set it up, where you have the lights off, where you have tickets, and it just gives the kids a sense to use their imagination and just something different to change it up and have fun at home. So I have heaps of ideas. Those are just a few just off the top of my head and things that I thought would be helpful. Again, this is going to be different if your kids are younger, if you have toddlers or babies, or what that's going to look like. The other thing I wanted to say is let your kids co-create with you. They have imaginations, they have things that interest them, and they're more willing to engage in learning if it's something that they're interested in. So even, you know, I know a lot of our kids are learning at home at the moment. Take their lead on what interests them, and they'll be more willing to engage with it. So those are just a few things, which ended up being lots of things. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. But I just want to say you're all doing amazing, taking care of your babies out there. If you are struggling right now, reach out and talk to somebody. I'm here. I know there's lots of people in our community. It is not an easy job. And if all else fails, add water. What I mean by that is, for me, if everything has gone wrong, I can go in the shower, I can be by myself, and water just makes me feel better. Or drink a glass of water, or have a hot drink, and just know that this too will pass, this time will pass, and what our kids take out of it, they're not going to remember all the little things you did each day, but they are going to remember how they felt at this time, how you made them feel, and how you felt at this time, and we're all getting through it together. All right, sending lots of aloha.